Well, just a few minutes ago, I had a chance to speak with Senator Rick Scott about a number of topics, including the bill that brought him to Naples last week. He wants to put an armed officer in every school in the country. It's an expansion of sorts of the Guardian program he signed into law here after the Parkland shooting when he was governor.
I think it goes without saying we are all relieved and thankful that there hasn't been another major school shooting since Parkland. Do you have any evidence or data that suggests that the guardianship program here in the state of Florida has something to do with that?
I've never heard a story of a criminal that walked in where law enforcement was intentionally. Never in my whole life. And I've talked to sheriffs about it. And so they don't. Criminals don't go where there's armed law enforcement, where they go where it's easy. So my experience has been that if you have armed law enforcement that's trained, and that you're going to reduce the amount of crime. There was a story that the sheriff told me down in Collier County, where somebody they had heard of that wanted to do something. I mean, they clearly didn't want to go where there's armed law enforcement. So, and the school shooter up in Nashville picked a different school because there was security at the other school. So I think it goes without saying that if you have trained law enforcement in all of our schools, and it's going to reduce the number of school shootings. I've got grandkids. I look at this as pretty simple. I want my grandkids to be safe. I talk to my daughters about how safe their schools are. So I think that we ought to do this. We have the resources. We don't need more IRS agents. We should take that money and put in more law enforcement at every school in the country.
I want to go back to when you signed the bill into law here in Florida. That was a wide-ranging bill after Parkland. It did a number of things, not just the Guardian program, but there was also a provision in there that raised the age to buy a gun in the state of Florida from 18 to 21. Why not try that at the federal level?
Well, I think there's a variety of things that we did after Parkland. As you know, what I did after Parkland, I brought mental health counselors together. I brought law enforcement and educators in different groups to get their ideas. And so I think there's a lot of things you should do. What this is to do one thing, but we put mental health counselors in our schools. We did risk assessments of our troubled students. You're right, we raised the age to buy a long gun to 21. I think all those things that we hardened our schools, fewer entrances, more bulletproof glass, things like that. I think a lot of these things should be done. They should be, but it should be done at the state level, and let each state make a decision about that.
Well, then what makes the Guardian program different in your mind then? Why is that okay for the federal level?
Sure. I think one thing the federal government can do is provide resources. And we do that in a variety of programs. And so what this is doing is providing resources through the states in a grant program, where then they can allocate the dollars to get this done. So I think one thing the federal government probably can do a good job at is they can allocate dollars. Doing national policy on specific things, I don't think that's what we ought to be doing. We ought to leave it to the states.
I also spoke with the senator about some urgent issues going on in D.C. right now, from the debt ceiling to immigration. I'll have that part of the interview later on Fox 4 Morning News.
All right, take a look.